3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to Grounds After Rounds.
5, 4.
Welcome to Grounds After Rounds, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Coach Jack, along with
Coach Eric.
Wait, did I do that? It's been so long, I forgot which one I was.
I do sometimes try to embrace my inner Coach Eric when people come in and I just want to tell them to get your stuff put in the cubby, we're moving. Instead, you actually took 2 full minutes. I timed it. You took 2 full minutes and talked to Lily today and got to know her. Yeah. You asked her 4 or 5 questions. 4 more than I would have asked. I might not even have asked her name.
What's funny, she told me her name and I was like, Whitney? She goes, Lily. I was like, I will never forget it now. For some reason, Whitney stuck with me and I don't know why.
She could pull off Whitney.
100%.
She too,
Totally be a Whitney.
I think it's better. Lily's better.
100%.
But yeah, so I've tried to, and it was that perfect. It was a minute 45 too long for me.
Hi, what's your name?
Yeah.
Lily?
Okay, great.
Cool.
Surface, baby, surface. No more.
It's good that your name only has 2 syllables. Yeah. Things got real weird.
But I was and I'm standing there and I'm watching it go and I'm like, this is still not awkward. Not awkward. Oh God, if you guys say longer, you're gonna be out. And you were done. And you moved on. And it was I was like, wow, that was so good.
Oh, that was fun.
Who knew being a human being was so effective?
But then I channel my inner Jack because as people are coming in, it's like, grab a jump rope, grab a PVC pipe, get to your spot. I didn't want to waste any of that extra time because it was a lot to do today.
I didn't. And you got in the stretching at the end and finished on time. Again, we finished we were starting at 42.
I started later than you did.
Yeah. We finished, everyone still finished well enough, fast enough. And granted, I got distracted talking to Soph, but everybody else was back at the rig and you had them cleaned up and you had them stretching and you were done and disconnected at 6:58. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit, how did he land that plane? So I'm intrigued to watch the 2 video comparison. That's kind of cool.
I'll tell you, I think it too, hearing when I saw how quick, because I said, it should take less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When I saw how quick 5:15 got it done, I was like, all right, cool. They'll have 10 minutes, but they're not going to need the full 10 minutes. Which I knew would buy me a few extra minutes on the back end.
So that was beautiful. Soph and I both said today's workout was beautiful too. And in case anybody is wondering, we are full in now with the CrossFit affiliate programming. We have transitioned from the barbers, Pat and Taz Barbers warm up and workout company. No, not that they do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just a different style. And in all honesty, it is just less work for me on the back end. Mm-hmm. That what was becoming, a good 2 to 3 hours a week to translate their programming.
Even something that was already something that was already written still cost you.
I want to get it down to an hour. Yeah. So that's really what the goal of from a business standpoint. Mm-hmm. That podcast we did not publish, but did you ever get a link of whether we were on that guy's podcast or not?
No.
Okay.
I haven't even looked.
Yeah. So. We talked about the business acumen of stuff that
I think it might be one of those ones too, where they're they've got 30 in the can.
Gotcha. We'll release it 6 months from now.
Yeah.
But the time costs money. And so if at some point I want to remove me from any of this process, how much would it cost to hire somebody? And could I feasibly say, I will pay you an extra $100 a month to do put it into SugarWOD, reformat anything that needs to be formatted, post any videos that need to be posted, blah, blah, blah. That plus what they're saying CrossFit affiliate programming is going to cost keeps us almost at the price point we were paying for WooWo versus WooWo plus my time, which I was underpaying me. So I would have probably had to pay somebody even more. I was like, oh, I love them.
Also knowing that someone else may have taken longer. So then it's also
or underpaying them. Undervaluing their time. And so this is the behind the scene gross stuff of business. In the end, it is as good of a product. I don't think it's any worse or better for us as coach from a programming.
From programming,
I really
from
don't
a
think,
you getting
yeah,
fit.
I don't think programming is that important. But what is important is the coach's opportunity to execute said programming with more precision and efficacy.
Yeah.
This is a little bit better than Woo-Wo in that it is all level 1 based. Yeah. So all of the cues and the points of performance and the corrections and the faults are all directly from the level 1 manual. Yeah. You see a lot more of the 9 fundamental movements in the warm-ups. You see a lot more deliberate effort of hitting broad coverage. Not that Pat and Taz weren't, it just wasn't immediately in each PDF shown by like a chart and a graph.
Right.
And so now as a coach, you can look at the whole week. Danny and I were talking about this.
It's very like visually, it's very pretty. It's very clear.
And it links directly to CrossFit.com.
Yes.
So about 5 of the 7 workouts that are programmed on CAP each week come directly from the CrossFit.com week. That the CrossFit.com workouts of that week starting next week. So if you're curious, we are following a week behind right now. Starting next week, Monday the 4th, 6th. No, 6th is different because it's Labor Day. So Tuesday the 7th, we will be following what is the .com workout, except on rest days.
Which, if you're listening, reminder: Saturday schedule, Labor Day, 7 a.m., 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Boom.
So anyway, so that's where, I don't know how we got onto this, talking about the timing. Right now for us as a coaching staff, as your coaching staff, we are step 1, just focusing on hitting timelines and not at the expense of like doing it, jacked out, go, 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 go. Right. Like, I don't care if I lose 70% of you. That's 30%. That's 70% I don't have to worry about. Not quite. What we are trying to do is redial in our awareness around the flow of the class and see how Big E and I both just ran the same class on almost the exact same template with slight tweaks for us and for our population. Yeah. I had 3 people in class. Yeah. All 3 of them were doing something different. So, and they all needed a lot more attention. In a class of 12, they would have still gotten that attention, or they still would have gotten those scales and modifications. Right. They would have not gotten that amount of attention. Right. So I took a little bit more time in the EMOM section and in the practice round section. Right. Because I just was like, hey, well, we got the time. There's only 3 of you.
Might as well.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. You had 11 with a little bit more sort of like needing of like, keeping them moving, and still landed the plane at almost the exact same time. So it's cool. That's the part that we're working on right now. And then next step would be in the warm-ups, skill, general warm-up, specific warm-up, how to set up cues and progressions. Right. So for anybody curious, the 6 fundamental elements of coaching: teaching, seeing, correcting, group management, presence, programming. Right now, group management is all we're really focusing on.
Programming 6. I knew that. Yeah, I knew that.
I'm wrong.
I'm sorry.
I'm wrong. It's it's a demonstration.
There we go. That's the one.
Presence,
I was like, wait a second.
and programming.
Yeah, there we go.
I always think group management as that falls under presence.
I'll do the same thing with, I think it's group management, presence and attitude. Sometimes I'll put us to, it's like, no, those 2 are the same.
Yeah, but then where does demonstration? Demonstration is one of them. Yeah, it's not like group management.
Seeing, correcting, not as
teaching, seeing, correcting,
demoing,
presence, programming. I think it's programming, not group management.
I think you might be right.
Anyway, read your level 1 manual and your level 2 manual. But either way, we're focusing on
this. Is why we use hand plan and not Jack Garrett plan.
But the next step is the teaching, seeing, correcting. And that happens in the warm-up, in the specific warm-up, in the build or sort of transition period. Yeah. That if I set up a cue, I need to make sure that it's a body part doing an action. How does the athlete know when that action is complete? Hence I need you to get full hip extension on this clean. I need you to really make sure you got your, full flexion in the posterior chain and ... All right, here we go. Full flexion. Squeeze your butt.
We snatching, or is this a double under?
What are we doing? I'm so confused. But that's where at no point did I mention a body part or an action, or how do they know that they've done that action?
Yeah.
So I want you to stand up, squeeze your butt, and squeeze your butt and your quads as hard as you possibly can until you almost pass out. That's full extension of the hips. You know what I mean?
And if they pass out,
yeah, hey,
then it worked.
There you go.
Yeah.
We went into flexion.
And that's why, like I said, with this, the way this is laid out, as from a coach, like I said, as an athlete, if you guys notice a difference, maybe we're better coaches for it, right? Like from a you getting fit standpoint, they're both great programs. Like you said, I like how they say at the beginning and at the end, like, look for this, cue this, and like you said, it's very much the verbiage that we've
from
heard
level one. So
from
when
level one. So
when
from a
Soph
coaching
goes to
development
when
standpoint,
Soph goes to her level 2, when Shelly goes and takes her level 3,
Mhm.
when you and I eventually take our level 3s at
Someday.
some point. We're just big babies.
They're gonna do more pictures. I need more pictures.
But that's we're playing.
Yeah.
I'm a company man.
Yeah.
And I do believe
We've said that from the get-go.
Yeah, I really think as long as it's not something that is requiring us to abandon what we feel serves our community best,
Mhm.
then no, I'll be like, no, I'm just an affiliate. I'm paying for a licensing fee. I don't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
This whole like the affiliate gathering stuff, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That feels a little too like
They're
clicky.
They're trying.
Yeah,
like
there's
I
just
see what
nothing there that like it just ends up feeling very much like other types of things that I've been a part of, where everyone
It feels
just
like
kind of sits.
it feels like a Facebook group, right?
Exactly.
It's just a place for everyone to.
Whereas this is a quality product being curated for a general audience that has enough flexibility and room,
Mhm.
and I forget who I was saying. Oh, I was talking to Huey about this. Anything we do should have 2, 3, 4 win-win benefits.
Mhm.
That this is a win-win for the athletes, for
Yeah.
our coaches, for us as the affiliate,
Mhm.
and for CrossFit.
Yeah.
Because it gives them access to what they hope is about 1/3 of the affiliate communities,
Mhm.
that they are standardizing about 1/3 of the affiliate communities.
Right.
That's about as much as they probably want. The other 1/3 is open source. The other 1/3 will just be people doing kind of their own thing.
Yeah.
And that's a healthy balance in an open market system.
Yeah.
I'm not an economist, but from what I've read, that allows
Makes sense.
for one being kind of the, hey, this is what we want, the model, but I'm not saying that I know all the answers, but this is sort of where we want to go.
Mhm.
Then you got people that are competitive and will drive the price the correct way.
Right.
And then you got the wild cards that
Yeah.
are kind of like doing their own thing, and they test something and it fails. They test something and it really works. And
Yeah.
so then it's observed and absorbed by the other groups, and they're all healthily kind of moving,
Yeah.
but all staying true. Yeah, exactly. All rising tide raises all ships.
Raises all ships. And I think going back, this is not the first time we've done CrossFit programming.
We did it for an entire
We
year.
did it for an entire year.
All
And
of
we found
18
it got
and
to the
19.
point where we felt like, as company men, we felt like CrossFit programming was not serving our community the way that
Correct.
we felt it needed to. And now we're back.
So
And
that'd be kind of cool.
hopefully-
That's a really good observation, and I forgot about that. That'd be really cool to see if we do this. We did Woo for about a year.
Yeah.
We'll be 1 month shy of a year.
Yeah.
So if we, same thing, plan on CAP being for a year. At some point, if we see the CrossFit.com programming has changed back. When we first started, it was great.
Yeah.
Then Greg Glassman took over again.
and real
went
like bare
back
bones
to,
basic,
yeah, like
strict,
a
strict, strict,
lot
strict,
of strict
strict.
pull-ups.
40 minutes of skill work.
Yeah,
was your
yeah.
program. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if that ever happens again. And if it does, the the CAP programming class plans makes that type of programming more digestible.
Yeah.
Dude, like it left
That
to
was hard,
us,
yeah.
it was so, that burned me out. Like
Yeah,
I
remember
was
that.
freaking, I mean, half the time I'm convincing Amy, Mary, and Shelley, and a little bit of you, like you were trying really hard to be on my side. But at some point, I was sort of like, all right, you're all right. This sucks.
I can tell
done.
you
I'm
got
done.
to, yeah, I could tell you got to that point where you're just like, all right, we'll do this again.
Yeah, the
We'll do
only
this
reason
again.
the
It was
only reason I
this
was
is
staying
just-
with it was because I said we're doing it for a year.
We're doing it for you. You committed and you
Yeah.
stuck with it, and we followed
Yeah.
blindly. So
Uh,
people got fitter from it.
They
but yeah,
did. They
but
did.
from
but
an experience,
man, they
standpoint,
were
we
bored.
felt
I
like,
was
yeah,
bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't boring. This is
yeah.
a lot of fun.
So far, so good.
And yeah,
I said,
one weekend.
I'm excited. Like I said, and you may, as athletes, who knows if you notice the difference? You may not. If you get fitter, then if you get fitter and you're having fun doing it, mission accomplished.
So what is kind of cool and more the topic of this week's episode is you will notice, folks, if you go on to, actually you don't have access to it unless you are traveling or reach out to us. There is a Off the Creek track that is also programmed by the CAP masterminds that is 100% linked to the main programming. Sort of the way Woo-Woo was, though they twilighted that, which is also one other reason why we switched back over. But the Off the Creek or their at-home versions is, though you don't always have to do it at home, which is where we're going to go, is really robust. Video demos, warm-ups, logistically challenged, no equipment, body weight version, full equipment, like dumbbell, barbell, other thing equipment. So
that's what I love. They have like, if you have equipment, here's this. If you don't have any, here's this.
For us, what it is also is a resource. You got somebody in class who has wrist issues and you're snatching or whatever. You can pull up the body weight version. We can pull up the body weight version and be like, oh, I got a great scale for you. And what that facilitates is somebody in the moment not feeling like, why don't you get on the bike and ride for 20 minutes? They're actually getting something that their counterparts at home or somebody off the creek traveling is doing it. You're doing the same workout, just with legitimately, let's say, calibrated and curated scales and modifications that we would use in a class anyway. That's a lot harder than you think it is to program it. And you got Austin and Spencer, Austin Malleol and Spencer Hendel walking you through the actual demo video, explaining to you at home the stimulus and stuff. So if you don't have a coach, which you're not going to have a coach because you're not here and we're not there, you got somebody to take you through.
If you invited us, maybe
I would go to Hawaii with you. I mean, geez, I'm a pretty good traveling companion.
I can actually, like, you'd be surprised at how small I can curl up into a carry-on.
It's very true.
Do it every night in bed.
I stuffed them in a duffel sack. I mean,
it's true.
Yeah, duffel bag.
Did some ground overheads. Dropped me on the head on the ground.
He still shakes a little bit.
That's the gas.
Hey man, I told you I'd put you in the trunk if you kept crying.
That's called riding dead hooker, actually. Did you know that?
Whoa, HR jar, my friend. HR jar. Easy now.
I think it's in my locker. That I'll tell you that Off the Creek was great. Kate, just yesterday. Kate Brew is she was told for a whole month not to use a shoulder.
I know.
Then she got a cortisone shot. And the doctor's like, look, just because I gave this to you doesn't mean you can go crazy.
No.
So she's like, I can hold stuff again, but I'm still willing to take it easy. So yesterday being the 7 sets of 3 hang power clean and jerks. And we just took the Off the Creek version. And I gave her a single dumbbell and said, you're going to do 10 power clean and jerks.
Same thing.
And man, she was.
How heavy did she get? How heavy did Kate go?
I think she worked up to a 25. I think she started, I think she did a few rounds here and then a few rounds here.
Got to 35.
Yeah.
Not that it's a competition, but that was like, sorry, and I'm totally.
No, but this is what's beautiful about it.
Exactly.
Look how excited we're getting talking about it.
Exactly. On somebody doing 7 dumbbell clean and jerks, Shelly was exhausted and was like, I've never lifted a dumbbell that heavy before. Meanwhile, John right next to her is PRing his freaking clean and jerk at 175 for 3. And so it was like they got to still feel the energy. And Kate, who sees a workout like that, I'm like, well, I can't come today. Like I'm working on a bump shot. Like we got you. And totally.
And she felt the shoulder grip form, all that stuff. Got her heart rate up too, which I know for Kate too. I think she likes that vibe a little bit better too than she just likes a heavy 3. Which if you're with those 3, got your heart rate
I was getting pukey by the end of those.
Man, I am.
So so there is. Cool. So this is the resource, and you probably didn't notice because if you're not tracking Off the Creek stuff, it's been the last 2 weeks. This is the end of actually the 3rd week of posting it. And my compadre here went on vacation and is working on, because this is part 2 or chapter 2 of Where the Nano Meets the Road.
Where the Nano Meets the Road.
Eric on vacation.
Yes.
I'm on vacation.
My gosh.
And how to go with your goal of getting to the 10K, right? What were some of the things you said you're going to work out every day? No,
I'm going to hit the 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
So yeah, it started with I'm gonna wake up, brush my teeth, drink a glass of water, brush my teeth, go to the 6 a.m. class. Those were like the three, and then I was just like find that consistency
3 to 4 times a week.
I even said, yeah, I was like 3 to 4. I was like even 4 to 5 was kind of
That's right.
Sweet spot, because I knew it's like I can do 4 to 5 if I keep that
45 workouts a week.
No, Jack, 4 to 5.
Oh,
my goodness.
Overtraining.
And then yeah, so we talked about like here's my goals, and like and here's why these goals are attainable. Like A becomes this little morning routine, and then B, you know, like the showing up for the 6 a.m. workout, and that like now I get to be part of a group, which is like I hadn't really been a part of a group outside of like coaching a class, and so those little things. So going on vacation now, like, okay, well that eliminates the working out at a 6 a.m. with a group and having the, you know, high fives and the smiles and the Eric, your hair looks great. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't get that as much at home. And so, and during our like our Patriot off session was because like, yeah, you go on vacation, now these routines that you find fall off, but they don't have to fall off.
They
especially
don't.
as simple as the brushing the teeth and drinking the water. And so,
and as I told you, the reality is, this is John Kabat-Zinn has a great book about meditation, but he says, and the title of the book is Wherever You Go, There You Are. So often I think I want to start a meditation practice. I really got to get at this. And you know, I'm gonna clean up my diet. And I'm gonna start next week. And you know, when we get home from vacation, I'm really gonna dial in.
Really?
And you know what? I'm gonna start writing when I have some this summer when we go to the lake house. Like I'll have all that time, and I'm gonna fill in the blank.
I'm gonna get a calendar on the wall.
Yeah,
you can check it all
thing
off. And...
X you want to do is now tied to place Y that you will go. And let's say you do that 15 times. So by the time X sub 15, Y sub 15, you have every single time it never works. There's a variable in here that you're not taking into account. I'm pointing at myself for our listeners. You are the variable.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, there you are. Boom. And so if you don't address don't address the fact that you don't change based on where you are, though that's another conversation. There are some studies out there that setting does matter, setting, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. So you have to address like, okay, I don't need the setting to be perfect. If I do, you will never start.
Never.
What you need to do, or what you should offer yourself the opportunity to do, is figure out what makes me act the way I want to, or be the version of myself. What is the smallest thing that allows that to happen, and replicate that. Yeah. So the brushing the teeth thing. Yeah. Right. That was a great start.
And like to be clear too, like we bring up the brushing the teeth. I brush my teeth regularly. It's like just FYI.
Context.
And like I said, context.
It's the first step in a chain of events that facilitated the end goal in the micro goal of coming to the 6 a.m. Yeah. The next goal is, he gets into a routine. We're going to talk about you now in the third person. He gets into the routine that establishes 4 to 5 times a week of working out. 4 to 5 times of working out improves the fitness. Improving in the fitness makes you healthier to be able to run the 10K. When you run the 10K, you don't feel like a bag of nails in a shoe, right? Like that sort of, but if all you think is, I need to work out 4 to 5 times a week, that's not even the end. It is, and there's no micro steps along the way that keep you moving. Yeah. So it's the trigger that you're already doing, but it was it's the give a mouse, we said in the last episode, it's the give a mouse a cookie. Yep. Right? Or is it give a mouse a muffin?
Give a mouse a cookie.
Who else? Moose a muffin? Who do you give the muffin to? It's
is a moose a muffin? Is there
I think you're giving moose. There's like 7 of them, 8 of them.
There's also a TV show.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I'm not sure what the legs would be on that. Like how long?
They're like 10, 12-minute episodes.
I just mean like, I don't think there's a 3rd season.
Right?
Like I think there's only the one season.
It always ends up being to give a mouse, and the mouse gets into all kinds of trouble.
Right.
And
gets the glue, and he wants to take the picture and send it off, and we've all been there. My friend.
Mouse goes to school, and it's like if there was a mouse in school. Anyway,
and he had a cookie. Oh yeah, we're setting traps.
Yeah,
this just got weird and dark. So a little smelly. So that's the idea, is you start the trigger, it starts the chain of events.
Boom.
Let's move into episode or chapter 2 here.
Yeah.
You called it something which I loved. It's obstacles, but how'd it go? How did you brought the 40-pound dumbbell with you?
It's called, so let's say we hit the wall of awful.
That's such a
which has
great
been
term.
great. And that's not even my term. I wish I could credit it too, but it was a guy who speaks on ADHD and is a researcher of ADHD. And so the wall of awful is a big, like, it is this, like, you have this thing and now, like, maybe you have this routine, but something gets in the way, like maybe you're going on a vacation. So your normal, like, here's my routine in the morning. The thing that's changing is now I don't have a group at 6 a.m. Now there's this big thing in front of me. It's not perfect. And it's not what I wanted it to be or needed it to be. The situation isn't perfect. And so now I've got this big thing in front of me. And it's like, I can't Hulk out and bust through the wall. I can try and go around the wall, right? Like, but that's going to take me this way. And who knows where this is going to go. You can try and get over the wall. So there's always, so that wall of awful stands in front of you. And then you're
waffles. When are we having waffles?
I haven't had waffles in so long. I want waffles so bad. But now it's like you've got this thing in front of you. Things have changed, and you just get paralyzed by the lack of perfection. And so, what are the little things? This comes right back. The little things that you need to do to keep it moving. So I took the 40-pound dumbbell with me. And I will kick it off with I was loading up the car Tuesday, and I reached to get something, and I just felt this little thing in my back. I was like, oh, I was like, that's not going to feel awesome. And I remember being so mad at myself. I was like, I can deadlift 415 pounds. I can back squat 3. Like, I can do this, this, and this.
You guys already
fighting
the colds, those summer colds you got?
At this point, yeah.
Which, by the way,
me, yes.
Should I share that you got COVID?
Okay, I don't care.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I would like to offer that I think it's great that, and you told me I appreciated the updates. They all felt like crap. The whole Hoyt family got themselves a nice little summer cold, but went and got COVID tests because, right? Like that's oh God. But I found it humorous. Not that you, like, I found, because we're all in the same boat. We got summer colds when we were on the trip up to the Cape. And Joe got kind of sick, got a pretty bad upper respiratory, and it like moved from his nostrils down to his throat and back up to his sinuses. And he goes to the doctor and he got the flu test, he got the COVID test, he couldn't quite kick it. He goes back, the doctor looks at me and goes, "Hey, Joe, we tested. It's called the common cold. It still exists. And guess what? It still sucks." So I'm glad that you're working out, because you probably could have been a lot worse if you hadn't. And so I don't say this to minimize, like, hey, if you feel like you may have been exposed to somebody with COVID, and go, because it is not the common cold. It is something, obviously, it is the pandemic.
And at this point now, it's a little bit easier to transmit.
Right. So like go
vaccinated or not, like,
and you can go to CVS, you can get one for free. Like they're pretty straight. You can buy it for $35 for the take home at home. Like they're super accessible, but also understand, like, you may just have a cold, and guess what? They still suck. So, and I'll still drink water, still eat right, still come and exercise, like, and you still take care of yourself.
And you know me, like, I'm not a COVID denier, but I'm like, I'm so tired of this thing. But it was like, I think if it wasn't like hey, I run a business, I have someone else I need to think about, I have other people that, like, it. If it wasn't that scenario, I'd probably been like, I'm sick, whatever, I'll get over it. Right. Like if it go back to like, hey, the new normal should be now, hey, if you feel sick, why don't you just stay home for a day or so?
Right. I like that. I like that. Right. So, like, don't push through. Right. Like, stay home for 72 hours.
Your body's telling you something. Listen to it.
And so it was a good. So I offer that. Were you this because I wanted to ask this? Were you already fighting the cold when you got the back tweak?
So there was that. So remember that Monday I felt awful, and I was like, that's like withdrawal symptoms from my Vyvanse. Tuesday I felt a lot better. I was loading up back tweak. Then I started feeling during the day I felt okay. Come nighttime, I felt like crap.
So it was kind of that.
And so the
normal cold wave,
right? And then by Thursday we were all like, oh yeah, this is okay. At this point too, and like, short story long, it was, we were in the car for 5 hours, then we were in a hotel, then we're in the car for another few hours. We just got the news.
You're probably not eating very well. You're eating like gas station food and fast food and stuff.
No, so we did pack. So we did prep, because we did not. We knew we didn't want to spend a lot of money on food out, so we packed a lot of food. If anything, we probably weren't eating enough.
Okay.
Because also we weren't that hungry, but we were so busy and back and forth probably not hydrated enough. But again, the stress of like traveling and moving. So back to it, I tweaked my back. I felt it. I was fine. It was a little tight. You know, that's like, I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's not gonna feel great. Sit in the car for 5 or 6 hours. I get out the car. I was like, all right, that's a little stiff. So the next day, so we're in North Carolina. We're in Greensboro for this conference that Meg just had to support the secretary of the VA, which if I can jump to my gratitude real quick. So it was this veterans convention. And so all these you see, and I feel like you don't see it as much with like your generation, like of veterans, and you see like, you know, the World War II, the Vietnam, the Korean, like they're like these fraternities and they come out. My grandfather lived for this. One thing I appreciate my grandfather, he lived to serve, and he was, so these conventions and these gatherings with disabled veterans and all that. Like, so there's a lot of like old like dudes walking around, and it was just, you see them, they have their, I don't know, they have their hats and they have their, and
well, I would offer, it's because the war never ended.
Like, it's very different, right? Like it's still,
it just ended yesterday.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the part of like
So
Vietnam, that Vietnam faced something very similar. Little
Mhm.
history lesson. The extract from Saigon
Mhm.
was the official end of the Vietnam War, but you had
Right.
guys and women who had been home for almost a decade
Right.
at that point, dealing with issues that, yes, the VA was paying for and dealing with
Mhm.
and trying to figure it out, but it wasn't until the 80s, late mid to 80s. I mean, you can watch episodes of Magnum PI where they're addressing this topic of, they're all Vietnam vets.
Mhm.
That's the right, that they're SEALs.
Mhm.
Magnum was the SEAL. Rick was a intel guy. TC was the pilot, was the
Mhm.
helo pilot that would deliver them and stuff. And so they are dealing with their absence of an idea of like a veterans group.
Makes sense.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And so there's, you see
I
it,
appreciate the perspective.
you
'Cause I'm
see it,
curious,
it
like, what is
takes,
it?
it takes 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
World War II was an anomaly because they never came home.
Right.
So you either went and stayed until the war was over,
Mhm.
or you came home in a box.
Right.
There wasn't any sort of like in between. And so when they all left, they all left together. When they all came home, they all now granted
Right.
you had waves of
waves, yeah.
coming back,
Yeah.
coming over to support, and you had injuries coming home. But even if you were injured, like if you could get back out there,
Oh yeah.
they sent you back out. That's
Oh,
how
yeah.
Easy Company and the Band of Brothers idea. And I'm not a historian, so my facts maybe fact check me if I'm
Yeah.
if I'm wrong on some, but generally we're talking broad scope macro. We just finished.
Yeah.
But I've been
That's
home.
1 year.
I've been home for 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, so there's a large swath of, as you blanket, not badly, but as you
Right.
blanket kind of
from your perspective,
classify
I don't have that perspective. so
that
thank you. Yeah.
generation, the OEF, OIF, and then
Right.
you had two different theaters.
Yeah.
You had Iraq and you have Afghanistan. And so and you also, in that time frame, you have theaters in the Philippines, you have theaters in Djibouti, you have theaters in Northern Africa, you have theaters in different places throughout Southeast Asia, that like this has been a global war on terror
Yeah.
for 15 years.
Yeah.
Cole,
Yeah.
the USS Cole was kind of you could say was the beginning, though there were things before that.
Yeah.
But with September 11th being like the pivotal watershed, like came into everybody's
That's
consciousness.
like now, like that's like the,
right.
the
That's
benchmark. Or,
20 years ago.
Yeah, dude.
20 years ago next weekend.
Yeah.
So that's how long this quote unquote war
yeah.
has been. It's been America's longest war.
Yeah.
And of course there are no veterans groups. I don't want to fucking talk about it.
Right.
I don't want to remember.
And that's where I think it's too, like from a generational standpoint, like it's war is, I feel like, viewed so much differently than it was like my grandfather World War II. Like the service and what people talk about and what they don't talk about, and just like the perspective. I think it was going back to Vietnam and like how,
I mean, you have guys,
people like,
you have guys that got out of the service, maybe even retired, and have been contractors and have been more operationally active in a combat role as a contractor or as a civilian for maybe they did the first 4 or 5 years, got out, and then transitioned into a contractor civilian role for an intelligence company or an ordnance company or something else. and have been more messed up or more traumatically affected in a non-service role.
Right.
Like, so there is
so much, it's complex.
Just, not to get too, too deep on this. Just an FYI, culturally, socially, we've got about 50 years, I would say, at a minimum, before we really know what these last 20 have done. Your kids, my kids, will be in their 60s, and I will be in my 80s and 90s when we fully realize just how costly this little exercise was for our country. So stand by, folks. Like, it just started. The fallout is just coming. So good. There you go. You're welcome.
So I appreciate that perspective, because like I said, I love seeing just those group of guys, and like
yes, they're actually a great model of, look, the only way to manage and get past something with it like this is to talk about it in safe groups who have like-minded experiences and frames of reference. Unfortunately, that's 1%, less than 1% of our US population. So we can't just rely on ourselves. We can't close loop this. It has to spread out into the larger cultural. And that's really where the conversation is the healthiest, is you have organizations and groups that have been trying to start those paths and inroads.
Almost like normalizing.
Some of the groups I worked with NEH, the coming home dialogues and stuff that we've talked about before, those are models that could blend with some of these groups from World War II, Korea and Vietnam. Because Korea is a great example. I mean, it wasn't even a war. It was a police action.
Is that the one? Is that called the Forgotten War? Is that the Korean War?
Like there's not even, and that was atrocious. I mean, there was just absolute,
it's a mess.
Horror, like the pain and suffering imposed on US troops, Korean troops, Chinese troops, like Russian was involved. Again, I'm going to stop there because I don't know the history on it, because it's forgotten.
Too many.
And I'm not a historian. But so there are models out there to follow. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. What's your gratitude? I totally apologize.
Just my gratitude
you
is
pulled my string.
So it was cool being there for that, because like I said, I remember my grandfather to the day he died was like, he from day one, he lied about his age to enlist in the military after his brother was killed. And from that day to the day he's died, he was 93. He lived for the service, and not for himself, but in support of those people and those groups with him. And so seeing all these guys and gals and all that, like it made me think of my grandpa a lot.
That's awesome.
And I love that man so much. And so it was really cool seeing that. And so I was really excited that turned into, that was a quick, like, we were going down south anyway. This coworker of Meg's was going in support. Meg's like, we're already going to North Carolina. Let me go down and do it. We'll go. And if anything, like, hey, VA by PS, thanks for paying us for the mileage to drive down there and a hotel to stay in. So tweaked my back, was a little tight. While Meg was doing her thing with the secretary, I was up in the hotel room with Fee and Everett, and I did that quick little video from the workout that day. And I was like, and again, like, did I get like the hardest workout? And no, but I had some fun doing it.
So I saw that, and I was like, oh, nice, he's doing it. He's staying on. But was that an anomaly, or did you actually do more stuff like that outside of just the video?
So here we go. So that day we finished up, we left, we got in the car. We were supposed to go down to Georgia. We didn't. We couldn't come home yet because we were actually bombing our condo for bugs. So we're like, well, we still have a couple days. So we ended up just calling an audible and going to Massanutten for a couple days.
Okay.
So another 3 to 4 hours in the car. And we got to the place, and I was sitting on playing on the floor with Everett, and he almost fell over. And I just naturally went to reach for him, and my whole back just seized up. So I was like, this was like, to stand up, I had to like press and squeeze, like 90-year-old man. I should have taken my dad's like walk. My dad's not 90, but should have taken like his cane with me. And so, so really, like, anything intense was out of the question for a couple of days. I found that I still got up in the morning and I went for a walk, and a walk kind of helped stretch out a little bit. And then I got back and like I did a lot of stuff, like sitting in a squat helped stretch it out. And so was it a workout with a dumbbell? Like trying to the fact that I went to grab him and it tweaked like the idea of even sniffing that 40, they
Yeah.
stayed in my car for the next few days. And I was like, I'm just going to like, just something to move. And so I was able to keep that routine of moving despite the discomfort. But what I found is, again, like motion is lotion. I think Amy always said that.
Mhm.
And so if anything, it was like, I went for a 30-minute walk and it just helped stretch out my back and it just kept that routine going. So it was wake up, drink water, go for a walk, come back and stretch. Boom.
That's a success.
Right? Like,
are you putting that in the success bucket?
absolutely. Like
Good.
that was
You
my
should-
like,
yeah.
and that's where like when I went down, it's like, all right, what are things that I can't control?
And that, yeah, and this,
And that
and
was-
you can go back and look like, oh no, I actually did. But yeah, so
And so it's like my back feeling like my back getting jacked up was like a big like,
I can't control
I
that.
can't really like, it sucked, it happened, can't really do anything about it.
It's
I
like,
did my
well, I
thing,
could control it. I could just not move.
right?
Oh wait, no. Okay, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was that. And then that was my way of like, here's this thing that happened. They could have easily just said, crap, I hurt my back.
I'm out.
Well, now I'm just going to sit for a few days and do nothing. And I was like, no, I still can
I
do
would say it could even be
something.
worse. It
Yeah.
could have been, see, this is what, like you could
Yeah.
have been the most miserable person to be around,
Right.
too. And you
Yeah.
could have been like,
What a waste.
yeah, like, God, see, this is why none of this ever works. And
Yeah.
you could have victimized yourself
Yeah.
with it too, which happens and we all do.
We all
And
do
it's like,
it.
I'm broken. I can't do this. I'm
Mhm.
too old. I always get hurt like this. Da, 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 da.
Yep.
Oh, I guess that's the end of me now. Like,
Yep. And that's, and
this is what we do now. I lay down all the time now.
And
I'm just an immobile person on my back.
now I will say it started feeling better. At this point, we're home. Monday started feeling a lot better. And then same thing happened. I went to reach and it did it again. on me. Now this is also like this point, we've been home, we've been sick for a few days. I found out my dad finally tested positive for COVID. And I think he ended up going to the hospital. And
Is he okay?
yes and no. Like I said, he has other health issues. So I think like it's funny, he's been in and out of the hospital. I don't know how many times I've told you now for the last year and a half, and it turns out it's like pneumonia related to his like some of this other stuff he has. So he's in the hospital again. They're like, it's COVID pneumonia. It's like, okay, well, it's COVID pneumonia now. So he's not in the ICU. He's in like a regular room, but they're giving him some oxygen to just kind of, if anything, his oxygen levels drop and they give him that, but he feels sick. So it's like, yeah, no shit, you feel sick. So, but keeping an eye on him, I think him being in the hospital is the best place for him because they can give him the things he needs just to kind of keep him comfortable because he wasn't comfortable at home. So he's in the hospital. Yes. Is he doing okay? All things considered, sure. So I just got off the phone with my sister. She had told me that. And whatever reason I went to reach again, back tweeze up. This worse than before. Next morning I'm waking up, I was like, I could hardly get out of bed. Called my doctor. I was like, hey, I need some sort of muscle relaxer now because at this point it was so bad I could barely move. And he's like, well, let's see, your dad's in the hospital, like you've been sick, you had a stressful time. Knowing that I was sick, that it could potentially be COVID, it was like no anti-inflammatories because that can exacerbate any of the symptoms. So he's like, I'm going to give you a low dose of Valium because he's like, A, it's a muscle relaxer, but B, you're probably stressed, a little anxiety ridden. I was like, all right, sure, let's do it.
Party town.
Let's do it. So he gave me a low dose of Valium and like within a couple hours, it's like, that's already feeling better. And so
I feel so good.
it still hurt, but
Hey,
now
Meg,
it's like,
you're glowing.
so,
This is so wonderful. Everything's wonderful.
oh man, it was like, my only
He links
experience.
it with a little MDMA.
You're right. I should have called Brian. Like, hey, you got any those mushrooms?
Little
talking
ecstasy,
about?
buddy.
So, but like I said, it came back to that muscle relaxer helped, and then it was okay, I can just get back to moving. And so, if anything, it just got to the point where it's like, I don't feel well, I'm tired. Here's these things to keep getting in my way, but I can wake up and brush my teeth. I can drink my water, and regardless of the scale of the movement, it's just do something to move. Go for a walk. Like I said, sitting in a squat helped my back so much. It's funny how that works, right?
So you're back to this week.
You're
back. You're back in your routine. Saturday was kind of like the liminal. Like you coached the 2 classes, but it wasn't quite the routine yet.
No, that was like I think that was a good ease back into it, right?
Monday, we're here, and it's
Monday.
actually now Wednesday of
Now
the
it's
week.
Wednesday.
We're 3 days into the week.
Yep.
Where are you?
So Monday and Tuesday, I had not come to 6 a.m. And that was just like the mornings were we had a lot going on in the morning. So it's like, cool. But with that, and one of the things I'd even put up in here, and like one of those uncontrollables is schedules will change.
Yeah. And it's
Or
school,
like
right? This applies to other people too, of like school start. For some, it started last week. For some, it's this week. For some, it's next week. Like stand by, folks.
And so
schedules are changing.
And so this was where it's like, okay, my schedule can change. My schedule is subject to change. Knowing that, having a plan B, but at the end, it's also like, I need to communicate with Meg. Like 6 a.m. is mine. So communication.
So these
is
are the
key.
other things that come out. Like,
right.
You hadn't really thought about that.
Right.
Which, sorry, we're dudes. We're a little slow. Like,
yeah.
You mean you're not an independent operator, single man living in your house by yourself and fully control of your own schedule? You have a 4-year-old and an almost 1-year-old and a wife and right.
So
so communication is
communication is key. So it was Meg knows that getting up and working out at 6 a.m. is
a priority.
Important. It's a priority. And she's rolls with that, but also knows sometimes it's like, I need that to be part B, and we'll talk about what the day looks like and what part B looks like. So Monday was, it was nice and quick, and was also like, and I'm still feeling tired. Like I'm still feeling drained. So Monday was like, it was real simple. I just did the beginner version of that workout.
Cool.
The row run.
Yeah.
And then back was still feeling a little bit of
so you moved for about 10 to 15 minutes.
It was literally 10 minutes. Sweaty,
done.
Good. Like 10 minutes. That's all I needed. Done.
You mean this CrossFit stuff is supposed to be short duration, high intensity, limited equipment, fast, under 30 minutes from time to time?
Boom.
Oh, okay, cool.
Easy. It was literally like,
so weird.
I finished coaching. I did the workout. Done.
Because I mean, you definitely weren't being physical while you were coaching the workout.
Not even
we weren't doing anything.
I hardly broke a sweat.
Yeah.
Right.
I sweat getting out of my car and doing the lock in the back. I'm already sweating.
Yeah. Right. And then yesterday, Tuesday, same thing. Like morning, we had a lot going on in the morning. So it was hey Meg, I'm just going to take Fee down to the gym with me at lunchtime. Weightlifting workouts are easy with Fee because I can stop and tend
she
to
likes
her
to play and do whatever.
Yeah. And so that was that. And then
so you've gotten 2 already.
I've gotten 2 in, and then today was I'm coaching for 6 a.m. for Shell. I was like 5 a.m. I was like, I didn't want to, like, I wanted to, but I didn't. But I also know Courtney's coaching 6:15.
Done.
I can do 6:15.
Yeah.
And so it's knowing that these things are going to get in the way, and just having a plan B, and that being fluid. But it was also like the non-negotiable of Monday was a great example of like non-negotiable. I need to work out. And that one was simple enough. It didn't have to be perfect. It didn't have wall of awful out of the way, move for 10 minutes, call it a day.
So how do you explain to us, and you can use you as the example, but then if you can, like, try to universalize it. How do you not Hulk through the wall of awful? Because that's unsustainable. Do you know what I mean? Like it is the perpetual monster that will always show back up.
I can tell you the wall of awful for me for a long time.
How do you move it out of the way? How do you get around it? Like walk us through how you do what you just did. And like I said, then try to like give us a universal for those that don't have ADHD, but still get the wall of awful.
So here's one that people probably noticed. Remember how the newsletter had all these graphics and all these videos and all that stuff. And that got to a point where it's like, I felt like I was spending, and it's kind of where you were with programming, right? I felt like I was spending so much time on it. And then got to the point where it's like,
because it was fun at first. It was exciting, it was cool, and it was something new to mess with.
And now it's taking me way too much time. It's taking me a lot to think about. And then it got to the point where it's like, now I have this thing that I've created. And in my mind, it's like, this is what people are expecting. And if it's not perfect, it's going to be a failure. If it's not out at the right time, if it doesn't look this way, if it doesn't have all this new information, and if it doesn't even have new information, sometimes it's like, there's really nothing new to talk about. But in my mind is like, people need something new. Otherwise they're not going to read it. If they don't read it.
And what they really need is
consistency. And so that newsletter started becoming wall of awful for me, because it was just like, I don't even know what to do. I'm not even sure what it is I'm supposed to put in here. I don't even know if people are reading it. If they're reading it, they probably think it's stupid. And then I'm sitting there like, I can't even.
And I lay on my back and I don't know.
And so now I don't even know where to start. So I said, you know what? I'm going to simplify this. And warm up and workout was a great example. There's Sunday, like it's just this quick rundown.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a quick blurb. Here's a couple of things, and every once in a while there's something else I can add. And
actually, it's just a summary of everything they've already put out the rest of the week.
Exactly.
So really, it's just in case you missed it. here it is.
And that's, so it's like, you know what? It doesn't have to be this grand, perfect thing.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a simple, here's some information, here's some links to a couple things that we like for you guys to keep up on. And if you read it, you read it. And if you don't, you don't.
It's the staff meeting. It's the Wednesday staff meeting of like, hey, sometimes there's stuff that needs to come out. Sometimes there isn't. The simple fact is it will be here every Wednesday because we all need a landing place. We need the consistency of like, I know my week is going to start when I see either Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, when the newsletter comes in, or when I wake up Monday and it's in my inbox.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. It's also funny. I also know it's a litmus test for me. How's your week going to go? Because I know when I see it, I'm like, all right, we should have a pretty good week because he's on top of things and And it's sort of and I guarantee you there's a level of that same sort of feeling of like normalcy and comfort for people. It's probably in this when they get this on Friday mornings. If like a week goes, I had 6 people text me, email, or say in person, oh, you guys missed a week of the podcast last week or the week.
Right.
When it was just, I was going to interview Matt. It just got too much. It was your first week out. We didn't really have a plan.
Yeah.
It was kind of a last minute thing. And I was like, could I have done it? Yes. What I did was I made a conscious decision and said, you know what? I just don't feel like doing it. And I never do that. And I felt bad. It was Drew that said like, hi, you guys missed a week of podcast. I said, yeah, I missed one week in 176 episodes. 176 weeks, Drew. I missed 1 week. And he just went, oh, sorry.
Right. And you know what's funny too? Like that's immediately what goes into my goes in my head is like, God, what do you want from me? But really, it's like sometimes it's like
it had nothing. He wasn't.
You missed one.
He wasn't even saying anything. He probably was like, I don't even know what, you know what I mean? But there was nothing there. Yeah. And I was, and he goes, oh, and I go, sorry. Apparently that's mine, not yours.
Yeah.
Working on it. But that was, and I was like, interesting. And it's because I want the consistency is really what it is. And I was angry at myself.
Yeah.
And so it was my own wall of awful.
Right.
So I like what you're saying, that oftentimes it's the perfection.
Yeah.
It's the second you start to hear, maybe I'll universalize it for myself. The second you start to hear that, oh my God, people are going to expect this. Oh my God. But Dax said it. It's an AA thing. I think we mentioned this before. Dax Shepard and his, he was on with Tim Ferriss and they were on Brene Brown's podcast together. Right. It was a great episode, but he said, something about you're not so important that, what other people think about you is none of your business.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so in the end, like, who cares what other people think about the newsletter? Is it serving you? And once it is, then know that it is of service to other people. But even if it's one person, 10 people, 15 people, if it's of service to you, then continue to do it. Yeah. But if you're going to say you're going to do it, we practice consistency, find whatever you need to do to make it consistent. And one of those things I guarantee you will be remove perfection. Make it so low stakes.
Yep.
It's there. You've done it.
And that's like,
and it's still a really good newsletter, by the way.
Thank you. Like I said, and that wall of awful got to the point where it's like, you know what? I just need to just simplify it. Yeah. And just like, it's kind of that like the bare minimum. Sometimes the bare minimum is just fine.
It's plenty fine.
It's plenty fine. And so that's how I got my through. That was the newsletter was, I just need to get some information out, put a couple links, and this should not be taking me all afternoon. No. And I should be able to have it ready. Minutes. Yep. Boom. Done. And so when it came to the workout, again, Monday, like it doesn't need to be 60 minutes. I don't need to run through a whole class plan. I don't even care about the skill right now. I need to just, what's nice is these are just, it's bike, row, sit up, move for 10 minutes, call it a day.
So this is the translation. This is the translation of this process or journey for you. And what I hear too, what I would take away for myself, not selfishly, but also, win-win. Everything should be a win-win. Yeah. Is what you just described is when you own something, a task, a business, whatever, and we'll just say own metaphorically, when it's yours, you just ran through the only way you know that you are now in a process of working yourself out of that role of the newsletter is that you had to go through, it was beautiful and awesome, but unsustainable.
Yeah.
And then it fell off, but it didn't fall off completely. You brought it back, but you brought it back in now a format that is replicable by somebody else.
Yeah.
And you now have a template that you could legitimately say, because in our structure, you are getting paid to do it in a way, but in a way that from a business standpoint, you could say like, somebody can finish this in 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
So I could pay somebody $20, $25 an hour and feasibly say, I will give you an extra $100 an hour. Your job is to publish the newsletter.
Boom.
And that's a good rate. You're paying somebody basically to do admin work at $25 an hour. So about $10 more than minimum wage.
Yeah.
And what I expect is I want the links to work every time. We like, now you're at the stage, the next stage is you could actually say, okay, you have the product, we have the template. Here are my expectations of what it goes out by 5 p.m. every Sunday.
Yeah.
It goes out to this mailing list. Each link works.
Yeah.
The links are updated and there's at least 1 or 2 pieces of information that are new or something. And you now have like a measurable, you could hold the person to the standard, you could hold yourself to the standard. You have the beginnings of this and I'm pointing at the page that was our original, like, what are the most important things? So that when somebody else, and you get now 6 months, you give it to somebody and they're doing it and they hit a wall of awful. You could say,
been there.
I see what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You've tried to make it perfect. Stop. Remember, all I need is it's out at 5 o'clock. And if there's none of this other stuff, let's say every link is broken because it's just that shit happens.
Yeah.
But it went out.
It went out at 5.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Now you got it out at 5. Like, that's kind of the bare minimum. Let's just at least make sure the links work.
Yeah.
but it's like you've been through it now. That's the universalizing of it, which is really cool. Yeah. And then you hand it off, unless you never want to. Like, I don't think I ever want to hand this off.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is energizing for us, for me.
And this is our time too. Like sometimes I feel like this is the only chance we really get.
And so it still is serving what it originally was supposed to do. Yeah. Which was gives us the time to talk. It blends the morning and evening communities and it unifies sort of this whole community, the Creek community. So this is really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. So I guess my takeaway from like the last few weeks is like, I still have this end goal in sight. Like I still want to get here. Obstacles made their way. And instead of setting myself up for failure, saying it needs to be this, be willing to just do the bare minimum and whatever that looks like, keep it consistent, like do the thing.
So what's your metaphor? What's your metaphorical verb in dealing with the wall of awful? Because it's not smash through the wall of awful. That's too aggressive. It's too militant.
Man, I just want to embrace the wall. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be there.
Okay. Maybe we can lean into the wall of awful or look around the wall of awful, and it can be different for everybody, but embrace the wall of awful.
Yeah, man. Or just graffiti the wall of awful.
No, but that's like embracing it. I love that.
The wall is here.
Yeah.
And now it's, if anything, and now here's this. Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to put a smiley face right here on the wall. And that's all I can do.
Right? And sometimes you just bang your head in the wall of awful because that's all you want to do. Yeah. And then sometimes you get up on top of it and you sit on top of it and you're like, oh, it's a really good view from here.
And so now it's like
that was really good.
Cool. And if anything, it makes the wall not seem so high.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. So I kept doing what I could do. Is it what I had originally intended a month ago? Was going good for a few weeks. Things changed, getting back into the groove again. And I've still been able to move that needle, even if it's just a tiny bit, the needle's moving the direction I need it to.
Yeah.
And so I'm cool with it. Like I could have easily let this last 2 weeks just like put me in this like hole and be like, then this is where the motivation wanes and like, oh, it's so far away at this point now. I'm so far behind where I actually wanted to be. And I was like, no, I'm good. We're cool. See you tomorrow.
All right.
So
the Nano meets the road, Act
yeah,
2.
it's the road.
I like it.
Cool.
We're shifting it. I can't remember if I called it Act 1 or Chapter 1 or Part 1, but we're going to shift it to, this is a 3-act play, my friend.
I'm down.
We're Act 2 because this is you came to your conflict.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like in a traditional 3-act play, Act 1 is exposition and building of tension, building of conflict, but you're not quite there. There may be a mini conflict that you overcome, but it's the beginning, it's the rising, it's the we'll just call it exposition. You get background, you get a little bit of who are these people, what are their issues. Act 2 is rising action, and it culminates in the end of Act 2 with the conflict, and you have to deal with the conflict. You overcome it or you get crushed by it. Either way, something, and it
did feel like my back was crushed.
Well, you did like you thought you figured it out. Your back went, you didn't figure it out yet. And it gave you another chance. So that's the thing when you know what is the true conflict for the hero in that 2-act or 3-act play, 3-act structure is when that conflict is actually the conflict. It's not a choice. It is the protagonist is overcome and must face it. Up to that point, they've had choices and whatever, but that's the true conflict of the play or of this narrative. When they overcome it, finish it. Now we're going to enter into Act 3 is called denouement or resolution. Everyone thinks like the end of Act 3 is like the culminating. You see actually the resolution happen in Act 3. And sometimes it can be the longest act. Like the conflict might happen in the first 15, 20, 30 minutes, sometimes in the last hour and a half of the movie or the play or the whatever is what's called in French, it's denouement, but it's resolution. It's learning.
Almost, if I could, Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame.
Yes.
Would Infinity War basically be 1 and 2 and Endgame was 3? Like the snap is now that conflict without getting too.
Yes. Yes, because in the moment, I would actually say when Thor sunk Stormbreaker in his chest and the snap that when he hit it here and not go for the head, and when he said you should have gone for the head, next time go for the head, done. The conflict had happened, the snap was inevitable. He says, I'm inevitable. That's the true statement. Act 3 is all of Endgame because you're learning, like they're dealing with all of their choices from all of the other Avenger movies. They've got to figure out who are they now. They don't have a villain. They're so stuck. So, they create a new villain. They create this new Thanos that hijacks the whole process of him. Like that's why he loses. There's so many foreshadowings in Endgame of like the hubris, often the prideful don't pay attention or see, you know what I mean? When he says it, he's talking about himself because he never has to pay the cost of actually collecting the Infinity Stones himself. In Endgame. So
it was almost Thanos in Endgame was a weaker Thanos
because he had not done what he had to do the first time around. What I would argue is that the heroes, also hijacked. They lost, and in losing, had an opportunity to realize what the cost of their own pride was. The failed relationships, the breaking up, the losing of half of the people. Now I say all that, like I'm starting to sound a little bit like Thanos a little bit in that like, hey, that's the only way you're going to heal and recover from it. It is, if you have the opportunity to fix the mistake, you know, like that's such and they do. And
perform a time heist
right now. But the thing is they take so many liberties with like, you can't go back in time. This is all just a metaphorical examination of what is the cost of these choices of not remembering what was really important. And what was really important was make relationships, right? Like they should have found ways or could have found ways when Thanos was still a Titan to have been more and I mean like, and maybe that's what the Eternals, or I guess there's going to be a Titans that's different. Isn't there going to be a Titans prequel?
Well, the Eternals are controlled by the Celestials, who are fighting off deviants. Thanos is the offspring of a deviant. And
Okay,
that's
so this,
kind
and
of
now we're working into Loki. If you've watched
Yeah.
Loki, you understand what deviant. So
Yeah.
this is where that universe is so robust, and there's so many stories, and there's so many things inside those stories that are
Yeah.
archetypes and, you know, kind of Jungian concepts of like, oh, I've seen this story before
Right.
inside of it. So you lose quickly this big coherent arc because there isn't.
Yeah.
And you could also argue that that is in also the spirit of everything comes around again.
Yeah.
We've seen, like, this is, you know, the universe expands, the universe will shrink again. The universe will expand, the universe will shrink again. This has happened. It is happening, and it will forever happen. That is the nature of the universe, and it will progress whether you care or not.
Yep.
Your opportunity and suffering is our holding on to, trying not to let it keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Movement and transientness is the nature of the universe. We are out of time from that. We think we want to try and hold on to it and stop time, but we can't. And that's dukkha, that's suffering. So our only choice is let it go.
Yeah.
Okay, move with it. They would not let it go.
Yeah.
And Endgame was all about them trying to figure out how to let it go. And that's where I feel like it was a little bit of a cop out.
Right.
They find a way of not letting it go, but now you see the fallout and all of these now of them bringing everybody back.
Mm-hmm.
They're broken.
That's
You've
right.
got refugees. You have more suffering than perhaps.
Yeah. 5 years of this now went right back to this.
I mean, the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier addressed it a little bit.
Yep.
They're all broken.
Yep. Even going back to Spider-Man.
Yeah. Homecoming. No.
Far From Home.
Far From Home. Yes.
Whatever the second one was.
Far From Home.
But now that addresses it, like, things got weird.
Yeah, because it's not what Thanos did. It's all fiction, right?
Yeah, right.
But what Thanos did
fun.
could be, you could equate that it's to a natural storm, to a hurricane, to an earthquake, to an atrocity of something that is outside of our control and inevitable. And the loss of that life is tragic. It's also like, compare that to the billions who have died across time, right? Like it's as tragic, it's more tragic or whatever. What makes it suffering is us trying to think,
what can we,
I could have, what about, and it's like, hey, it happened. You have to let it go to get through it and past it. Because guess what? You will die. I will die. All of this will crumble. Just zoom out on a different timeline. None of this exists 10,000 years from now.
Right.
Is that tragic? Well, no, because it's 10,000 years. Guess what? None of this will exist 50 years from now.
True.
Is that still tragic?
The internet's forever.
Well, I mean, but will this building be here? We'll both probably be dead, or on our way out. 94 and 80 something, 87. So it's possible, statistically speaking, we should both be dead.
Yeah.
So is 50 years too close? Is that tragic? Well, no, because we lived. What if I said in 1 year, all of this is gone?
That's scary. That's a little.
Okay, so it's just a matter of, I just have to zoom in close enough and I change. Like, nothing changed. So what are we doing now? Like, why then are you wasting, not you, but why would anyone waste their time holding on to something or not being honest or not dealing with their wall of awful? And when I say dealing with it, climb on top of it, look around it, paint it with graffiti. You know, that's sort of the, I just have to zoom in to the right level. That's what Avengers failed. They cheated the system on that by being able to do the time heist.
Right.
Anyway,
I want to go back and watch it.
I know, me too. I did. I probably about once every 2 or 3 months. I watch the cycle.
Back and watch it. Yeah.
My gratitude is you, buddy. I'm glad you're back.
Oh, thanks, dude.
I missed this. This is actually what I felt.
Yeah.
When we missed the week.
Yeah.
Could have totally done it, and I went, no. And I felt bad because I told Matt we were going to do it, and he was kind of excited, and so I owe him an episode.
Yeah.
But it was just, I was like, no. This is work. We work. And then sometimes you have to just knuckle down and get the work done. But it was feeling too much like I was going to do it and I was going to be angry about it and it wasn't going to be right. And I was like, yeah, because my bro ain't here.
Yeah.
You know what? Hey, sometimes you miss a week and it's okay. And I didn't have a name for it, but it was my wall of awful. It was feeling way too perfect. I would say instinctively, what I felt was I just sat at the base of the wall and cried. And sometimes you just have to do that.
Sometimes.
And then, and guess what? An opportunity presented itself in the form of Shannon Corey and the Where Are They Now?
Yeah.
And now we have a whole new series with potential. And I've got like a list of 6 names from my own creation and Shelly's, and I'm going to get some from you of like, oh, we've got a whole nother year of content. And that would have never come if I had pushed through and tried to smash through it like Hulk. You got it. So I didn't know that until today. And so that's, I was grateful you were back, but I didn't know like why that happened until this conversation. Cool. So thanks, brother.
Good. Awesome.
Fuck yeah.
Heck yeah. Let's do this. Awesome.
All right.
Well, cool.
Hey, what do you get when you take, and I told this joke last time, but I'm sticking with it. When you combine an elephant and a rhinoceros.
Oh, if I know. Love that word.
Well done. Well done.
Did you guys pick that up, Ted Lasso?
Is that where it was?
He said something like, it's kind of like when he makes an elephant and a rhino. Or he's like, what are we doing here? I don't know. It's like he makes an elephant and a rhino.
Maybe it might have been albino. Yeah. All right, folks.
Cool.
We will see you
on the creek.